Good evening, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Everyone Belongs Breaking Barriers in Special Education. This virtual event focuses on inspiring and supporting current and future educators with a focus on special education. So tonight you'll hear from educators who will share their journeys, talk about opportunities and challenges, and offer advice to help you explore teaching it as a path forward. My name is Jeremy Davis, and I serve as a senior program manager here at Teach, and I'm excited to be your moderator and host for tonight's webinar. So here's an overview of our time together. We'll start by grounding ourselves in this virtual space and then share a quick overview of Teach and what we offer. From there, we'll look at some key opportunities and why this conversation matters, move into a rich panel discussion, and close with some community reflections and next steps. Now, I want to take a moment to ground us in this space. Let's use the chat to share comments and build community. If you like captions, click live transcript. Throughout the webinar, feel free to use the Q&A feature to share questions and reflections. And we'll also provide a survey at the end. Your feedback really matters and helps us make these events even stronger. Everyone who completes the survey will have a chance to win $200 prize, so make sure you stay till the end. So our mission here at Teach is to help in the national teacher shortage. And we do that by partnering with state departments of education, universities, school districts all across several states and metro areas, including Colorado, Connecticut, Dallas, Houston, Minnesota, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, San Antonio, and South Carolina to encourage as many people as possible to enter the teaching profession and to make an impact on their communities. At Teach, we offer several personalized supports for everyone interested in becoming a teacher. This includes one-on-one coaching with current educators, job listings, program search tools, direct financial assistance, checklists, and how-to guides. And if you live in one of our partner regions, you can also access all of this through your Teach account. If you're outside of our regions, we'll still do our best to support you on your journey. So why special education matters? All across the country, there are students who are waiting for someone to see their strengths, to believe in their potential, and to help them grow in ways that go far beyond a test score. And so many of those students, that person is a special education teacher. So this work is about relationships. It's about creativity and persistence. It's about celebrating progress for, well, some progress for that others might overlook and helping students to build confidence in who they are and what they can do. So tonight's conversation is about those educators who choose this path, what it takes to step into this work, and why special education is one of the most meaningful and impactful roles in education today. And I am happy to be joined in this conversation by two dynamic folks. First, I want to introduce Dr. Tanetta Killens. She's an experienced educator with 22 years of teaching experience across various school settings, currently serving as an education associate for the South Carolina Department of Education. There, she specializes in educational research, strengthening educator pipelines, and instructional design. And then we have Dr. Corey Pierce, who is a professor and director of the Center of Innovative Educator Preparation at the University of Northern Colorado. He specializes in special education assessment, behavioral screening, and education preparation with extensive research on teacher pathways, significant external funding for addressing teacher shortages, and is an active leader in several national organizations. So, we are grateful to have each of them tonight with us to share their perspectives. And so, with that, we are ready to dive into our conversation. Welcome to the both of you all. And I want to kick us off and start out with you, Dr. Killens. You have served in classrooms in higher education and now at the state level. So, was there a moment for you or an experience that made special education feel deeply personal, and not just professional?
Well, I have to say that special education started out deeply personal for me because my youngest brother was in special education. And it was the wonderful Miss Ford who made his world wonderful. And he had a passion for learning and all that she offered him. So she was that pen. Before I understood what special education was, I knew there was a Miss Ford. And so then when I came into teaching lateral entry, and I actually taught in CTE, but I was blessed to have students who took full ownership of their needs. And so being able to collaborate with peers who were fully informed and support students who took full ownership of their learning. And so that is what anchored it for me. And then going into higher ed, especially working in open access universities, which I have had that privilege as well, you see the adults who are continuing to thrive and still able to get their needs met, and those who are learning for the first time that their needs could be met. So those are the things that made it personal and makes me grateful to be in the space I'm in right now.
Yeah, no, that's really important to hear. And other educators are certainly many times the inspiration for a lot of us entering the classroom. For me, it was Miss Richards. She was my fifth grade teacher, and I just remember how close we got when I had a tragic loss in her classroom, and I thought about me being able to be that person for other students. And so hearing that another teacher inspired you is certainly something that I think that a lot of folks, get some power from.
Absolutely.
Mhm. So, hi, Dr. Pierce. Your work, spans research, preparation, and practice. And so, what originally drew you into special education? What continues to ground you in your commitment to this work?
Well, my path started as a first generation college student in our family. And I originally, as a lot of young males do, I connected education with sport. And so, I saw sport at times being more important than education. And I had, as you both illustrated, a teacher who had that impact, Mr. Nebelsick. He was the basketball coach, but more importantly, he was the first person that could make math make sense to me.
Mhm.
And before that, I thought it was something that was unattainable for me. And he made it make sense. He made it enjoyable, and it made me realize that teaching can have a tremendous impact. So I wanted to be like him. I wanted to be an educator and I wanted to be a coach. So I got into the field and I was actually going to be a computer information teacher, computer science teacher, and I was going to go on and be a wonderful football coach at the high school and college level and have an impact that way. And thankfully, along the way, I took an adaptive physical education course. And in that course, one of the requirements was that you volunteer to coach Special Olympics. And it was at the first practice, basketball practice, Special Olympics, where I remember stopping and looking around and saying, "These are my people. This is my field. This is where I can have an impact." And from then on, I taught in coach Special Olympics for years. Went on to teach elementary school children with emotional behavior disorders, uh, and got to see the impact that we can have as educators in a number of ways, from being a male role model to teaching literacy, teaching math, all of those important things. I also realized what I wasn't good at. I
Yeah.
realized, as many educators do, I need to go on. I need to continue learning. Fortunately, that led me on the path to my master's and my PhD, so I can go on and continue to have opportunities to impact teacher development at this level and prepare the next generations of teachers.
Yeah. No, that's really good. You mentioned sport, and that reminded me of my baseball coach, Coach Pageant. I when I was deciding on what to teach, he was my physics and chemistry teacher in high school, and I thought that was the route that I wanted to go. But thankfully, I found that I was a much better writer, and so English became my subject. But definitely, he was one of those other people that inspired me to get into education through sports, and can totally agree with you, right? As educators, we get to serve in many roles, both inside and outside the classroom, as mentors, and then even in our communities. And so I'm happy to hear that that is part of your work, and you're part of your work both in the past and in the present. So keeping with you, Dr. Pierce, when you think about, preparing special education teachers, well, what does meaningful preparation actually look like in practice, and what experiences help build candidates' confidence before they step into the classrooms?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. It fits within that sport analogy in my mind. Again, good athletes are willing to have repetition, to have practice of repetition, to put themselves in different situations where they can practice, where they can fail, they can analyze what they did wrong, they can learn from it, and they can practice more. So, when we are thinking about preparing effective educators, that's key number one. Give them repetitions to learn, right? Provide them opportunities and exposure to information, to knowledge, to effective practice. But then give them the opportunity to practice. Give them safe environments at first where they can fail, they can get quick feedback, we can support them, keep them their energy and their motivation learning, and then continue to up the complexity. Thankfully, we have a wonderful organization, CEC, the Council for Exceptional Children, and the Cedar Center at the University of Florida. They developed and really promoted the high leverage practices. And so, as a baseball coach, there are certain techniques that you can teach to pitchers or to hitters that if they practice them, they're going to be more effective on the field. We translate that into the classroom. We have high leverage practices that we know, when implemented effectively and implemented often, can have the biggest impact on kids. So we want to center our practice around those high leverage practice across a continuum of increasingly complex situations. So when they are out on their own, they are in their own classroom and they're meeting dynamic, wonderful kids, they have a set of tools and practices to fall back on, so they're a confident teacher.
Yeah, yeah. As you were talking, I was thinking about, my preparation before the classroom, and I would say, no experience is a better teacher than actually getting in there and doing it. But as much as possible, when I see and hear, programs that are really taking into account what the experience is within regions, and within the classrooms that are near them. I think that is really important to give teachers that experience and that exposure, so that, like you mentioned, they are the most prepared whenever they get into the classroom and get in front of those students to make a difference.
Thank
So, Dr. Killens, from a statewide perspective, what are you seeing as the most promising approaches to preparing and supporting special education teachers, particularly those that uh, help them feel sustained and successful over time?
Well, I think it starts with what Dr. Pierce shared. We are a part of a CEDAR right now, and we are working to help our higher education institutions implement or go back and revamp and explore how they can better integrate higher level practices into the coursework. And to see the conversations that are taking place right now between the universities and the districts and the state educational organization, it is so inspiring. And we are listening. We're not just talking, we're listening to the teachers and we're looking at the data to see what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. So it is just promising to see so many different exciting and innovative ideas coming out of it. And you can look at what's happening across the state, not just with special education, but across all of our educational endeavors, the alternate pathways, the residencies, the lateral entry opportunities, the financial resources that are being put in place to help them come out of college with less debt and making teacher a better option, easier option to take on if your heart is taking you in that direction. And so just seeing the plethora of things that are happening across the state is promising in and of itself. But we do know that preparing our students that is the core to their confidence, how well they feel prepared. And so just the relationships that are being built across our IHEs and with the districts and being able to go in and say what's working and what's not. I'll give for an example, the conversation around even what is required of our institutions when they do their reporting to hear that we have to do some better things to help the districts be more comfortable with helping our students interact with families before they're put into that classroom, because that is a major part of it, especially when you're talking about special education. They have to be able to engage not just the students, but the families that are wrapped around those children. And so I can talk a lot, but I'm gonna just it is the beauty of seeing change happen, not just conversation in South Carolina.
Yeah. Two things that you mentioned that I just want to pull out is that you mentioned about some of the benefits, of entering into the classroom and some of the supports that are there around financial assistance, or around what districts are able to offer particular teachers who are entering into a specific subject area, and that is super important for folks who are on tonight who are looking into getting into the classroom
Mhm.
to look for, right? Those opportunities are there to help relieve some of the financial burden that comes with that, but also there are other resources like test prep and things that are available. And so those things, in addition to you mentioning families, I looped up with my kids, and so being having a, a strong family relationship was super important. And they feel like family to me today. I got to teach them for 4 years in a row, and that was really, really, really exciting. And so, as you mentioned, preparing those teachers, the future teachers, to engage with families in that way is super important and a big part of what makes a strong educator. And so, with that said, Dr. Killens, what conditions or supports make it easier for the talented individuals to enter and remain in special education, especially those coming from the non-traditional or the alternative pathways that you kind of mentioned before?
Yeah, we are doing some wonderful things in South Carolina when it comes to implementing new apprenticeships and residencies that give them um, just access to the learning, both academic and the experience in the classroom. And we need teachers. So being able to identify in the schools the talent and help them reach their goals of from whatever position they're in, find their ways into the classroom. And we have a wonderful SC Create is our Grow Your Own program that funds the special education. So if you work in any district in South Carolina, we will pay for the tuition and fees, no matter where you start from, to get you into a special education classroom. When they come in lateral entry through the PACE program, we're able to help them pay for the coursework that it takes to get certified as a special ed teacher if that was not your first degree path. And so we have a lot of strong resources that are being put in places. We have districts that are creating their own pathways. Up in our Greenville area, it is a district that has created their own alternate pathways, and they too have really empowered or taken advantage of that shift from a para
Okay.
to a teacher in the classroom. So now their biggest concern when you hear them talk is how do we replace the paras? So we want to make that an issue across the state of South Carolina, right? How do we get the next wave to come in because we're doing such a good job of helping the ones who are in love with it find their place in the classroom? I hope I answered your question fully. Did I? Okay.
Yeah,
Is
absolutely,
there
absolutely.
anything that I left off?
Oh, no, absolutely. No,
Okay.
you absolutely did. And, for those people who are on in South Carolina, Dr. Killen just mentioned the SC Creates program, the PACE program. And so you all, if you're interested in any of those, our coaches here at Teach can help you, learn more about those programs and make them a part of your teaching journey. So thank you for sharing those. So, Dr. Pierce, Dr. Killens just mentioned residency models and apprenticeships. And so, are there, how do you see, those innovative pathways preparing students and removing the barriers and strengthening the pipeline into special education?
Yeah, I mean, we know that 80% of states still have educator shortage, or not, almost every state has educator shortages. 80% of the states have special educator shortages. So, we have work to do. And we have work to do in ensuring that those teachers are effective. We're still not reaching every student. We still don't have students reading at grade level, right? We still have work to do. So it's finding pathways and making sure that those are rigorous pathways because we don't want to just create a pathway, put people through and put them in a classroom. We want to do all of those things that we talked about earlier. Give them good practice, give them good foundation, allow them to. But we know that we're sitting with shortages where we have people in school systems who want to work, right? We
Mhm.
have paraeducators who love working, they love working in special education, and they would love nothing more than to become a special education teacher, but there are barriers,
Mhm.
right? And so we identify those barriers, right? It comes down to access, geography. Can they get there or not, right? In Colorado, we do with mountain rural or rural coming in. They may not have the means or the time to be able to come in. Then we also deal with time. People have families, people have commitments. We have to work. Everybody can't drop everything and come in and do a traditional preparation program. So it's about accessibility in those ways where we can create avenues for those who are interested to be able to come in and making sure those avenues are effective. So we've got the apprenticeship models that come into play. We have paid teacher residencies. We have, a pair to teacher programs. And so, and the other pathways we have as well, we have high school students who know that they want to be special education teachers. They know they want to be educators. But in the research that we've done is middle school, early high school, mid high school, they know they want to be a teacher. And we know that not all of them go to teacher preparation programs. So
Mhm.
where are they dropping off? Why are they dropping off and going to other careers, other options, right? So it's for us to build these early pathways, give them opportunities when they are in middle and high school to have teaching experiences, to be mentored by an effective teacher, a quality teacher. Really, it's fanning those flames. They see this as an option, right?
Mhm.
And it's harder for the outside world of maybe negative social connotations, maybe family members saying, "Hey, choose a different career over this." If you fan that flame and they see the impact they can have, it's more likely they're going to go on and find a path to become an educator. And so, one thing I'd like to, add on to where we see really effective pathways is not only allowing them to come in, but Dr. Killens alluded to and spoke to some of the other pieces that impact a teacher's ability to be effective. Sometimes dealing with families who are stressed and very concerned and very motivated to help a child can be daunting, right?
Yeah.
It can be overwhelming. So if we can find opportunities to mentor our candidates along the way. And so as we develop specifically, we have a Parity Teacher Pathway program where the district has stepped up, provided funding, just as you had talked about, Dr. Killens in South Carolina. The district is taking some of that on. But we require 4 mentoring sessions a year. And what we found is it's to allow them to develop a community within that district community. So they support each other. We have times where they're sharing carpooling of kids so they can do homework instead of doing the driving and they alternate days. So we build this cohort community so they have a structure that exists more typically in traditional prep programs. We're modeling some of that where they're sitting in a room together. Typically, the classes are online, they're asynchronous, they don't have to interact. Give them an opportunity for us to mentor them through praxis testing and the stresses that come with that, licensure testing, those sorts of things as a cohort. So then they become supports for each other out there. So I think that's where we find most effective. We remove financial barriers or reduce the financial barriers. We find ways to improve access earlier for kids and for adults in terms of geography, accessing things, those sorts of pieces. And then we encourage districts and others that don't create your own necessarily, follow a model that works with mentoring and effective coursework.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you don't have to always reinvent the wheel. Yeah. The both of you mentioned several things that speak to me. I watched and saw a few of the para educators as I was entering the teaching profession myself, make that decision and get on those alternative pathways through residency programs. And so that is super important to have that pathway for those adults who get inspired from serving in those roles as paras or teacher supports or teaching assistants, to have that pathway into getting certified and getting into the classroom. You also mentioned, grow your own programs. Both of you all have grow your own programs in your states and in your regions, and I have personally seen that. So I'm here in New Orleans, and I have also seen that be true in several of our schools where we have students who are visiting elementary school classrooms who are getting that support through a cohorted model and being inspired in that way very early on, and having that experience be able to carry them forward into making a career decision, whether they major, in education or not. We mentioned alternative pathways. There are still many, many, many ways that folks, no matter how they decide to journey in college, what they can do and how they can transition into the classroom. So thank you both for sharing that. And the mentorship, oh my gosh, that is super, super important. I had a strong mentor teacher. Her name was Miss Atkins. I'll never forget her. But without her, that first year, I don't know where I would be. And so having that mentorship, both pre-service and during those first years in the classrooms are really, really, really important. So thank you both. I could probably share a bunch of stories all day, but I want to hear from you too, to share a story or an outcome for you that illustrates the difference strong preparation and supports can make for special education teachers and what the students that they serve. And so, Dr. Pierce, you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to go. So where we've seen 2 instances where we've seen the growth is starting high school career and technical education pathways built around educator preparation. So seeing that opportunity for students where we've built it around a Department of Labor type of model where we have electricians and we have apprenticeships where students can get involved early and start having these experiences early. They're so valuable. They really allow somebody to immerse themselves in a career opportunity to see, as you said, Jeremy, is this the right career for me? Teaching is not for everybody, right? We don't want everybody to become teachers because there's a certain dynamic personality and a certain uh, set of skills that people have to have in order to be effective teachers. And so the where we've seen some success and something that I don't is a light for me, sometimes on tough days is when you've seen these high school students think they want to be a teacher, you provide them opportunities to be in learning situations and to help somebody else learn, a younger student learn, and they realize they had that impact on a student, and you see that like the path is for them. That path is there. It is clear for them. That is so powerful as an individual. When somebody that picks a career and you pick that path and all of a sudden you're like, this is where my heart is and this is where I want to go. So impactful. And then the other story is with our Para to Teacher program. And I think there have been some comments in the chat around, I've been a para and, I felt like education has passed me by. I felt like with a family and with where I am in life, that this opportunity has passed me by. And to be able to provide accessible opportunities so it can look different. It doesn't look like a traditional teacher preparation program, but it is just as rigorous, but it's super flexible, right? There are different on-ramps and off-ramps that people can get to. And when you see people take advantage of that and they see that this is something I can do. This has been a goal that's been out there. I haven't told anybody about it. I've held it close to my chest because I don't have the financial means to do it. And on the para path, with the salary, it didn't seem like a reality. But when we start to put resources, as Dr. Killen said, in South Carolina and other states, Colorado had the educator recruitment and retention funds of $10,000 to help offset some of the later programming. There are things that we can use braided funding for and different avenues that we can reduce barriers of access and funding that can make this a reality. And as I've seen that play out for teachers, I just had a meeting with one right before this presentation, and her affect from day one of, is this real, to in next fall, I'm going to be student teaching and I'm going to have my own classroom. It doesn't get better.
Yeah.
So the more we can create those opportunities, and we know they're going to be effective teachers when they go out because they've wanted nothing more than to do this.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Just hearing those like full circle moments, where someone may not feel like, that they have a pathway in, and then realizing that it's accessible. The barriers can be removed, and even listing out some of those supports that you like name. Oh gosh.
And
I look
encouraging people,
forward to
have that conversation.
yeah.
Ask somebody, reach out to somebody because somebody knows connections, or they'll be willing to help that with that lift. That'll help get you there.
Yeah, and a great thing to ask any of our coaches. So if you all need support in finding some of those resources, definitely sign up for one of our one-on-one coaching sessions here with Teach, and one of our coaches will be able to help direct you and connect you to some of those things and remove the barriers for you. Same question to you, Dr. Killens. Can you share a story or an outcome that illustrates the difference that strong preparation and support can make for special education teachers and the students that they serve?
Well, as I sat here listening to Dr. Pierce, I was going through my Rolodex and realized how many people in my own personal life
Yeah.
has been impacted. I have, first of all, I will always shout the praises of SC Create because just removing the financial barrier so that there is nothing that you have to be responsible for except for finding balance in your life and showing up to get your coursework done is a major win. And it has allowed us, in spite of still having deficits, we recognize how much greater the deficit would be if SC Create had not been around for its I think more than 20 years that we've been doing SC Create, and it's growing consistently. I have too a friend who is a wonderful woman who has spent her time primarily as a stay-at-home mom. And then now that her children are grown, it's through programs like what the registered apprenticeship program and use of the Create funds at universities like Columbia College here in Columbia, South Carolina. And she just walked across the stage and she's going to have her own classroom. And to see my friend reach her goals and move to the next phase of life was it's just been so exciting. And then I have a younger sister that is here in South Carolina. She too had some was in special education, and now thought she was going to do counseling and other things. But after some conversation with her big sister, and I said, go try it, as you say, try it, right? See if you love it. You know what was given to you. And she has found her way into a classroom. She's been able to, as you say, we ask for what we don't know, Dr. Pierce, and helped her figure out what she needed to do. Our Office of Educational Services, they are just wonderful with keeping things on track and helping people know exactly what you need to do and then connecting you to the right resources. So she's been able to come in through the PACE program into special ed. We've been able to pay for her classes with SC Create, and she is in a classroom teaching while she finishes her process. So I get to see it in my everyday life, not just at work, but see how it's impacting my community. And
Yeah.
so that is overwhelmingly exciting for me.
I'm sure it is overwhelmingly exciting, to see, your family and friends make that decision and for resources that that are available to help them make that possible. I know that's so heartwarming. I know that it fuels your fire and helps to reground you in why this work is so important every single day. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, so we've talked about some of the innovative pathways and things that are happening right now, but Dr. Killens, what gives you hope about the future of special education, particularly when it comes to building inclusive and sustainable systems? Like, what do you see next?
I see, um, I see it getting better and better every day. I see where, and I speak for South Carolina, where South Carolina is investing their funds to educate those who we want to be in the classroom. I see where we're investing in our institutions of higher education and allowing them to be a part of the data, finding out how and why. At the University of South Carolina and our SC Teach and they're exploring the exit interviews, the whys of people coming and going and helping us really get a better picture. At Winthrop, we have our Sarah. Sarah is our primary hub for helping us do our recruiting, our teachers fellows, our mentorship program is through the Sarah program. And so we have some solid resources that are in place. And now we are seeing how we can better connect them so that we can better serve both our students and the future teachers that will be in the classroom and our institutions. So to see it all coming together and understand that we you can't see it all, at once, but to begin to see all of the pieces work together and come together like a well-oiled machine, that gives me hope and makes me want to get up in the morning, right?
That's right. That's right. Right. So, Dr. Pierce, as you look ahead, what shifts or innovations do you believe will most strengthen how we prepare and support special education teachers going forward?
I think that sometimes people get caught up in changes in the political landscape, and they are important. I think that I think we talk a lot about our voice And so I think it's important for people to share their story and have these conversations with a lot of people. Have the conversation about wanting to become a teacher. Be open about what would help make that more possible. Your local representatives, state representatives, national, federal representatives, having those conversations, we have a voice to make sure that teaching is a career and teaching is something that people love to do and teaching can have a big impact. And now we've also recognized we have to be innovative. We have to meet people where they are. We have to meet people where they can do this. And that's where we've had to be creative and get innovative with different pathways to do it, right? And sometimes, as Dr. Killens knows, at the state level, right, we need multiple stories of people who say, if we can create it in this way, then we can do it and we can fill a need that is out there. So I think as we continue to be creative, we continue to advocate for not only the profession, but with the resources that are there. We have wonderful organizations like Prepared to Teach, where we've collected a lot of data around what are the financial burdens that teachers or candidates face going through programs. We've worked with a number of school districts to say, what are your teaching needs? Everybody is there. Everybody wants to help solve this. So the more we can innovate together, the more we can have conversations across organizations and be willing to try new things, yet holding to rigor, holding to, teaching to high leverage practices, holding ourselves to allow individuals, not just throwing them in a classroom, but providing mentoring, providing opportunities for them to fail and to learn and get feedback and do it in such a way where it doesn't feel like a failure to them. It feels like they're getting better every single day. So we'll continue to innovate. We'll continue to advocate for those resources to make these more accessible career options for more people.
No, that's really good. And you all have brought up some great resources that are available in Colorado and in South Carolina. But for those who are on the call, I want you to know and hear me well that these resources are available in many of our regions and in a lot of places. And so while we may be hearing specifically about some of the resources that are available in South Carolina and in Colorado from our speakers tonight, know that these are available, and again, encourage you all to sign up with one of our coaches to help you figure out and learn about more of those in many of our other regions. And so, with that, I'm going to kick it over to my colleague Kate to see if we have any questions from our folks who are listening in with us tonight. So, Kate, I'll kick it over to you.
Oh, you're awesome. Okay, I heard quite a lot of encouragement about becoming a special ed teacher if you're already in a school, if you're already perhaps a paraprofessional or a substitute teacher. One of the questions that came up was, what does it look like for a career changer? Maybe somebody who has a master's in English and is looking to get into education. I'd love to hear some words of encouragement for the career changers that are on the call.
I don't mind speaking to that. I am a career changer. I started out in computer science. My first life was programming, and I transitioned into education in career and technical education, teaching the programming classes. And I taught math for a little while. So once you come into education, it's so vast. And as Dr. Pierce said, it's a career. It doesn't have to be a one size fit all. So no matter how you walk in the door, take the time and explore everything and see exactly where you fit in. And take the opportunity to ask because you won't know what kind of resources are out there. So for example, if I came in now in South Carolina as a CTE teacher, I could do the add-on and SE Create would pay for me to shift from the CTE classroom to a special ed classroom. Or if I started anywhere in the any position in a school district, no limit, just a full-time employee, then I could take my time and work and provide and slowly transition myself into the classroom. So it's not an overnight thing. It can be done, and it is so rewarding.
Yeah. And Dr. Pierce, anything you want to add there?
Yeah, I would say reach out to teach, talk to the coaches about, and the coaches know opportunities that are
Mhm.
available within your state and within your region, and then reach out to State Department folks like Dr. Killens at the state level. Right, there are folks there that want to help you, and they will explain licensure and they'll explain potential, and then reach out to ed prep institutions there. Let them talk to them about what you've done, talk to them about your desires. Those that have completed coursework closer to what teaching is, it's going to be a faster pathway. Those that, as Dr. Cohen said, if it's been very separate, it's one thing. And, in Colorado, in other states as well, if you have a bachelor's degree, obtaining initial licensure at the master's level is completely possible, and the timeline is actually faster because there's fewer credits required to obtain a master's degree versus a bachelor's degree. So it's complex. Don't
Yeah.
think that it should be easy, and don't think that you should be able to figure this out easy. Reach out to folks, and they'll help you figure it out.
Definitely. And I can,
Right.
as a career changer myself, I was a journalist before I was a teacher. But utilizing some of those skills, in writing, it helped me be able to transition into becoming an English teacher. And so it is certainly possible. And I did that, like these wonderful folks have mentioned, through getting support and coaching and advice, from folks. So encourage you folks that are career changers, to definitely take advantage of that opportunity.
And Jeremy, can I add, as he said, ask questions. Start with just the people you know. I literally asked one of my sorority sisters, "Can I talk to you for a minute about
Mhm.
teaching?"
Yeah.
Before I left, I had a job in the school, and it wasn't intentional. I mean, so people around you want to help you, no matter what, what. If you just want to brainstorm, start with the community around you.
Right. That's right. That's right. Kate?
Okay, you ready for another one? We're going to change gears a little bit here. So this one, I'm just going to read straight from the question. My main concern is managing IEPs, communication with parents, coordinating with general ed parents, prepping engaging adapted activities, and somehow still having enough time to do right by the students, all while avoiding burnout. Whew, there's a question for you.
Well, that is that's a lot. So as I've iterated, when you're looking at the pathways and looking at the opportunities wherever you are, to the individual, I'm sure this resonates with a number of folks. Um, find the program or the pathway that's going to provide you opportunities to practice those things. We see the most confident or we see the teachers that are the longest lasting, that kind of avoid some of that burnout that you're alluding to, are those that are more confident in leading into the high leverage practices, trusting that what they're teaching is working. Teaching is hard because you don't always get the reinforcement or reflection that the student really grasps that on that day. It's a progression. It takes multiple teaching and learning opportunities for you to see that growth. So allow yourself to be patient, but allow yourself to practice. For instance, in all of our programs, we run mock IEP meetings. So we have people come in and we put you through what feels like a very real IEP meeting, tears and all, from parents, and building this up, because we want that first stressful experience of an IEP meeting and working with parents to be in a safe scenario, safe situation, but very realistic. So finding a pathway that allow you to practice those things so it's not the first time in a live environment, I think will help you gain your confidence. And then that allows you to be there for the candidates, or excuse me, for your students, to allow for life to come in and have conversation about what they love in life and what they want to do and how they did in basketball that weekend and how their play went, last week, and having those kind of life discussions too.
Thank you, Dr. Pierce.
Okay.
I would only
Go
add
ahead. No,
that,
no, go ahead.
no, I'm sorry. That know that you are seen, right? Know that we understand that that is the level of stress, and we at the state, and we are trying to find ways to help strategically improve that. And we're looking at workload, caseload. We're looking at the IEPs. We're updating technology, and so just be encouraged as you work through learning your system of how to get it done as best as possible and utilizing your mentor to help you streamline. The teachers who have been doing it for years, they have strategies. Lean on them and utilize it, but know that you're not just out there alone. We see you, we understand, and we're working just like you are, trying to help improve it.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, we ready for another one? Okay, so this may be an easy question or it may be a really difficult one. Here we go. So, are the education techniques such as resources, strategies, etc., different or similar in special ed, in the special education area between grades 1 through 6 and 7 through 12?
So, we like to say that all kids need to learn. All teachers can teach. There are effective teaching practices. There are effective behavior management, reinforcement practices that we know play out across the board, right? And, sometimes they're delivered in different levels. You can have different uh, levels of complexity and conversation about the how and the why we're doing these sorts of things based on grade level. But when you consider the high leverage practices, for example, that CEDAR and the Council for Exceptional Children have put out, it's not by grade level. These are effective practices. So for the most part, the content gets more specific. The complexity of what students need to display to show us that they really have mastered complex knowledge and skills, that changes. But I would argue that the effective practices that we put in place aren't necessarily guided by grade level. It should be guided by what does the student need? What assessment data have we collected to identify their strengths, their needs, and how can we use their strengths to build on those needs?
Yeah, thank you. Anything you want to add on there, Dr. Killens?
No, I don't think there's anything to add.
Got time for one more, Kate.
Well, I think I know the answer to this one, but I am getting quite a few questions about international. And, my response in the Q&A has been, check with your state education agency. It varies by state. I don't know if you all have any other secrets that you want to share specific to South Carolina or to Colorado.
I don't have anything. That would be my answer.
Okay.
That's a completely different department, and they are skilled at making it, knowing all the ins and outs of it. So the best thing you can do is call and ask questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and is the question around applying kind of special education practices internationally, or is the question more around obtaining licensure to be able to work coming from international to the United States?
Yeah, I think it's the second part of your answer. I think it's
Yeah.
international candidates that are on the call that are trying to find a way into a teaching opportunity in special ed in the United States.
Yeah, I would definitely have them, reach out to teach and get connected with the right kind of coaching and organization. As Dr. Killen said, this is, and as Jeremy had mentioned, this is a state by state, um, decision. But again, if you're bringing in credit hours, know that it's going to take some additional time to get those credit hours verified. Maybe bachelor's degrees from international institutions, we tend to takes a little bit more time to get them verified, but we can get them verified. In the Parita teacher pathway that I just explained with 3 international students. So, international students are familiar with TOEFL scores and, getting the language scores and things. But we're here to do that. We have systems in place that this is not overwhelming. This is not strange or odd. This is something we deal with on a daily basis to try to support you wherever you're coming from to get down this pathway to become a teacher. So reach out to people in higher ed and state institutions and teach.org, and we can walk you down that path.
What I'm hearing from that is definitely have the lines of communication open, reaching out to folks at the state level who are able to help to guide and navigate you through some of the resources that are available there. So thank you, Kate. I have one final question for the both of you all. So in 1 minute, what for someone listening who is drawn into special education but is unsure about whether they are ready or they're qualified, what would you want them to know? We'll start with you, Dr. Killens.
I would want them to know that readiness is not perfection.
Mm,
So nobody expects you to be able to do everything perfectly on day one. It is a community. We are working to wrap resources around you and have people to walk along with you. Um, as you learn how to do what is required and to do it with your style and bring your zest to it. So we have the preparation programs, we have alternate paths. So explore what works for you and come on in the door. And as he said, come learn about this career. And because if the first one doesn't work, explore something else in the educational system.
there you go. Same thing for you, Dr. Pierce. For someone listening who's drawn into special education, unsure, what would you want them to know?
Know that there is a lot of noise out there about the special education career and challenges. The fantastic thing about it is when you're in that classroom, everybody has the same goal. It is that student that is in front of you, and everybody wants that student to be successful. And if you've ever been a part of a team, if you've ever been a part of an organization where everybody has the same goal, if everybody wants the same outcome, it is so motivating to
Yeah.
get up in the morning and go in that classroom and plan and implement that thing because you get to talk to people about the good work you're doing. And in the end, as Jeremy, as you said, and Dr. Killens, and we've reflected on, in the end, getting to see these kids be successful is the ultimate prize. And so know that when you're in there and you're on that team and you're all working and you get to celebrate that success, you've known you made the right choice. So it is fun to get into that career and be a part of that team.
Excellent, excellent. Such great conversation. I wish we could go all night. But before we close, we want to leave you all with some concrete like next steps. So if you're interested in becoming a teacher, specifically a special education teacher, we have resources that are available to you to help you on your journey as you're exploring. So we encourage you to sign up for one of our one-on-one coaching sessions with Teach, our coaches, our current educators who can help you navigate your pathway into the classroom. So there's a QR code on the screen. Go ahead and scan it. There's a short link there that you'll find in the chat to get started. So we want you to follow that and make sure that post event that you will get an opportunity to sign up for coaching with us. And then finally, thank you again to our speakers for sharing your wisdom, for your experiences. I'm inspired. I hope that the folks in the call are inspired. So we want to thank you for joining us tonight. And so everyone here, please take a moment to complete this quick feedback survey. It's going to pop up once the webinar ends, but there's also a link here on the screen. So that will make sure that you are entered in for your chance to win $200. And your feedback, again, helps us to be able to shape our future events. Um, we hope that tonight gave you insight, inspiration, and a clear next step on your journey. And so, with that, we thank you all for joining us tonight. I'll leave the code up for just a few minutes, but thank you for joining us.